Hey everybody, so I want to talk about trade rumors here, specifically Phil Kessel trade rumors, because man has this taken a complete 180 over the last couple of weeks. It was reported yesterday that the trade market for Phil Kessel has completely dried up across the NHL. And now, where 3 weeks ago it seemed almost guaranteed that Phil Kessel was going to get moved, now it looks like he is fully expected to be a Pittsburgh Penguin still next year. Jim Rutherford, the general manager of the Penguins, said the way things are headed at this point, I expect Kessel will probably play for Pittsburgh next season. So basically, what happened is Pittsburgh had a deal done to send Phil Kessel and Jack Johnson to Minnesota, but Kessel has a no-trade clause, and he nixed the deal. He said, I do not want to go to Minnesota. They're not a contending team. And since then, that pretty much ended the chances of Phil Kessel getting traded, and the market apparently has completely dried up in the last couple of weeks here. So this is just another example of how quickly things can change in the NHL, where 2-3 weeks ago it was all but certain Kessel was getting moved. He's the top guy that Pittsburgh is trying to move. He's gonna be gone. He's going somewhere. It's a matter of where does Phil Kessel go. And now a couple weeks later, we have Phil Kessel's not going anywhere. He's going to be a Pittsburgh Penguin at the start of next season, or at least that's what it looks like right now. And obviously, things could probably shift right back the other way just as quickly as they shifted towards this. But it's incredible how a guy who was almost guaranteed to get moved is now looking like a trade is not going to happen. And it's it just shows how quickly things change in the NHL. And now at this point, I mean, Pittsburgh wanted to move him. There's no doubt about that. Pittsburgh knows that they need to make changes. And if they cannot bring back the exact same team that they had last year, or they're once again going to be in for a disappointing end to the season and probably another first-round exit from the playoffs. And Kessel was the top guy that they were trying to move. And now it looks like that's not going to happen, and they're going to have to try and figure out something else to get a deal done and shake this roster up. But it's amazing to me how this guy was all but traded 3 weeks ago, and now it looks like it's not going to happen. Now that's not saying that it's a guarantee he doesn't get traded. All it takes is one injury, or one person leaving in free agency, or one thing to change around the NHL, and all of a sudden, any team that has scoring winger as one of their top team needs, Phil Kessel's name is going to be at the top of that list as far as who they could possibly make a move for, because we know Pittsburgh's interested in moving him. And if a hole in your roster in that role opens up, where all of a sudden now you're looking for a scoring winger, Phil Kessel is going to be a guy that you go after, and a guy that you try and negotiate a deal for. So, I mean, it's only June 12th. The season will end today, no matter who wins. The season does end today. But it's the last day of the NHL, any games happening. We still have the entire offseason, the rest of June, July, August. We still have the entire offseason to go. So that's not saying that things won't change again. But it's just to see Kessel go from a guy who was guaranteed to get traded to a guy that now is expected to remain in Pittsburgh. It's just one of the bigger 180s that I've seen in the NHL as far as players' availability and likeliness to get moved. Usually when when you have guys who are fully expected to be moved, they end up getting moved. That's how it works 95% of the time. But this is one of those cases where I guess the deal just wasn't there. The deal was there with Minnesota, but Kessel's no-trade clause kicked in, and he said no. And then there wasn't another deal out there that would make sense for both sides. So it looks like Kessel will be a Penguin at least to start next year. We'll, things could obviously change during the season, but it's now looking like more and more likely that he wears a Penguins jersey on opening night of the 2019-2020 season. And that is a very different spot than we were in a couple of weeks ago. So it's just interesting how that has changed, and how quickly things rumor-wise can change in the NHL. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. We are on a road to 1,000 subscribers. Over 900 now. Thank you guys so much for that. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.